Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in today. This is my very first podcast about my passion for music, especially dance music and my DJ exploits. I want to start by sharing a little bit about how I got my passion started and what inspired me to dive into this incredible world of music. So let's rewind the clock just a little bit. I was 15 when I got a real taste of DJing, but the inspiration started much earlier. I grew up in a house of 7 with different music spilling out of every room. I can't remember exactly what was coming out of where. However, it was a bit like this. My 12-year-old brother would be playing Eric Clapton's Layla, while my 11-year-old sister would have Don't Stand So Close to Me by The Police blaring from her little room. And then there's my middle sister. I'd say she was about 9. She was into ska and loved the specials. Ghost Town's haunting mellow beats were slinking out the door. And then we get to the pop diva, my youngest sister. She was all over the charts and loved Wham. Well, she loved George Michael. So much so that I think she had 50 pictures of him on his walls. And then there was my mum. She always had the radio on. I vividly remember sitting in front of the speaker, probably at the tender age of 2, listening to Anita Ward with Ring My Bell. I sat so close to the speaker that to this day my mum tells the story how she constantly had to move me away. Some days I think I could have walked around the house and used their diverse love for music to create my own personal DJ set, wandering from room to room as I craved a new track. This continued until I was 7, when me and just one of my sisters moved to live in a pub. And if you're not from the UK, that's just a bar. This pub had a jukebox, and here's where it gets fun. I had the keys to give myself 20 free credits. So every day before the pub opened at 6 p.m, I'd grab a stool from the bar, open up the jukebox and give myself those precious 20 credits. I'd choose my favourite songs, but it wasn't just about playing music. I'd plan which song would go first, how the progression should go, and really try to create a vibe. I'd even watch the early customers as they came in, gauging what they liked or didn't like, and tailor my sets accordingly. And once a month, we'd get new music delivered. I'd get to play all the new tunes. Looking back, I guess you could say I was creating Spotify playlists decades before they became popular. The Music Man, as I named him, would leave the 7-inch records with us, and I would get to play them on one of those glass-fronted music systems. As well as the speakers blaring out the tunes of the week, you'd also hear my mum saying, "Will you turn that down before you go deaf?" And to her dismay, I'd always respond, "Pardon?" This cycle of new music and evolving love for so many genres carried on for about 150 weeks. Give or take a few weeks, that is. And then the pub days were over. And also the days of living with 5 personal DJs, they were over too. My brothers and sisters had grown up. It was just me and my mum's always on radio. It was up to me to step up and be my own DJ. And my love for curating music didn't stop. I now had my own stereo, which had a very advanced, for the time at least, double tape deck. I'd record songs off the radio, mix them up on a new cassette, and invite my friends over to listen to my mixtapes. It was all about sharing the music I loved in the way I wanted to share it, in the order that created a unique journey into sound. Next on my journey was getting a Walkman for Christmas, and my music was mobile. It was free to go anywhere. Well, anywhere while the batteries had power, that is. I distinctly remember me and my best friends sharing the headphones head to head. We'd sit and listen to the headphone, ear each, and remark on things like, "Listen to this bit. I love the way the guitar sounds here." And "The build up to that part is amazing." This obsession continued for years, and always the sound of mum shouting for me to turn it down. To be honest, I'm not sure how she coped with it. Fast forward a bit to my latter school days when I was 15, specifically the leaving party for the year above me. They were having a leaving disco. These were the days before the UK knew what a prom was. They needed a DJ, and as luck would have it, our music department had a mini mix desk with 2 turntables. A few friends and I set it up, borrowed our siblings' records. I had to beg mum to buy me the best 10 records currently in the charts. And then the 3 of us DJed the entire night. That's when I got hooked. The thrill of playing music and seeing everyone have a great time was unlike anything I'd experienced. From then on, every chance I got, I'd play on those turntables. I think I even got my music teacher in trouble, as I'd miss other classes to have my own extended music class. The next year, I was leaving year and my leaving disco, and I got to DJ again. This time I saved up and bought some of my own records and borrowed quite a few from friends as well. We were down to 2 DJs and we dropped commercial chart music back to back for 2 hours straight. And if my rose-tinted glasses are right, I'm pretty sure I remember the crowd demanding an encore. It was wild. If I wasn't hooked before, I was now. It wasn't until 2 years later that I got to DJ again. But this time, it was on my first ever owned decks. I was fortunate enough to have a contact in a neighbouring town that knew that their local play centre was closing down, and they had an old, part-functioning DJ setup with 2 decks, a mixer, lights and speakers. All I had to do was buy 1 replacement deck and at the time a very expensive amp. I worked on a market stall helping to sell band patches and badges. I'd get up at 5:45 a.m. in the morning every Thursday and Saturday to help set up the market stall, work the day and then save nearly every penny until I had enough to first buy another second-hand turntable and then, much later, that expensive amp. I had many a fake DJ gig, mainly in my room or in the garden, until I got my first booking. The first booking paid me exactly nothing. It was for my sister's engagement party, which so happened to be in my back garden. Luckily, everything worked well, and being family, everyone said I was great. I'm not convinced I was, but a little pat on the back can do wonders for confidence. So I started to advertise myself as Enigma Disco Services. I was lucky to start getting paid gigs, £50 here, £60 there, and eventually I got a Friday night gig in a pub helping out a fellow DJ, and this led to me getting to be the resident DJ on their Saturday night. This was just the start of cool gigs and awesome nights. So that's a little glimpse into what inspired me to start DJing and how I initially made it. There's more on this journey to talk about, but I feel I've taken enough of your time today. So I'll save that and much more for another podcast in the future. If you've got any questions or comments or feedback on this, my first podcast, please drop me a message below. Give this a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it and maybe hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already, that is. I've got plenty more stories and DJ tips and things to tell you about. So please come back and stay tuned.